Hello, everyone. Welcome to our event where we will be discussing about overcoming anxiety with Ayurveda, meditation, and astrology. If you guys are watching, we're going to wait for a couple of minutes for others to join. So if you guys are watching, please create a watch party and also share the link with others so they can also benefit from this event. It's going to be a fun event. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. All right. Again, we're waiting for a couple of minutes for others to join. If you are watching, please create a watch party and share the link with others. Okay. So welcome to our event. Today we'll be discussing about overcoming anxiety with Ayurveda, meditation, and astrology. My name is Pooja and I'm your host from Long Island, New York. I'm one of the volunteers for Art of Living. And today we have with us two experts, one on Ayurveda and one on astrology. So first, let me introduce the topic. Then I'll introduce my friends, Zach and Arvind. So Vedic astrology is India's traditional system of reading the stars, the planets, and the entire movement of time. It was originally called Vedanga Jyotish. That means study of light, as a limb of the Veda. It was also called Jyotirveda. The Veda, or science of light, is the corresponding Vedic system of natural healing for body and mind. Similarly, Ayurveda is a precise and comprehensive tool for physical and psychological well-being, health, energy, and vitality. Ayurveda is called the mother of all healing because it embraces all forms of healing, including diet, herbs, body work, surgery, psychology, yoga, pranayama, and meditation. Ayurveda explores the qualities and effects not only of food, medicine, and behavior, but also of climates, the weather, and the stars, astrology. The holistic approach of Ayurveda includes exercising, breathing, and meditation. So now, since we discussed a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, let me introduce my friends. Please welcome Zach. So Zach is an Ayurvedic practitioner and yoga instructor living in central New Mexico. He's operating his private practice, Sama Dosha Ayurveda. He received his Ayurvedic education from the world-renowned Dr. Vasant Lad at the Ayurvedic Institute. Studying under Dr. Lad, he was introduced to a wide spectrum of Vedic sciences, from Ayurveda itself to Vastu Shastra, Vedic palmistry, and Jyotish. With all of these tools together, Zach guides people to find holistic solutions to their well-being. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you, Pooja.
And we have our friend Arvind. Yay. Please welcome Arvind. He's an IT professional working as an engineering manager for Health Cloud in Salesforce. He's an Art of Living teacher and a father of two beautiful kids, 3 and 4 months old. He has always been interested in Vedic studies and sharing the knowledge. After the birth of his first child, he got interested in studying about Jyotish and is currently studying under Pandit Sanjay Rath. Arvind has been a volunteer for Art of Living for almost 11 years, and he's been teaching for 6 years. Welcome, Arvind.
Thank you, Pooja. Really, really, really happy to be here. And I love the way you said Ayurveda is a mother of all healing.
Uh, yes, we'll be talking about it. Now, let's start. Such a pleasure, first of all, such a pleasure and honor to have you both with us today. Thank you for your time. First, we'll talk about Ayurveda's perspective, then we'll get into astrology. So, Zach, my question is to you. Why is it important to understand your own constitution? Aren't doctors supposed to fix everything for us and we do nothing?
That's a great question, Pooja. So, no, doctors aren't supposed to fix everything for you and do everything for you. Your health is your responsibility. And using Ayurveda, you can take control of your health. If you understand and learn your constitution, what your natural propensity or tendencies are, then you can understand what activities will cause imbalance and then prevent those imbalances, because those imbalances left unchecked over time will cause disease and will cause ill health. So using the tools of Ayurveda, you can then gain power over your wellness, your well-being, promote good long life, happy relationships, and a good state of mind.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. So let's talk about what is dosha?
So a dosha, in terms of Ayurvedic constitution, a dosha is a organizing principle. There are three doshas called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. These three doshas are in every human being. Everybody has all three doshas. Vata is the principle of movement. Pitta is the principle of transformation. And Kapha is the principle of nourishment. So Vata governing movement of speech out of your mouth, food into the body, breath into the body, the movement of blood circulating through the cardiovascular system, or the movement of wastes, urine, feces, sweat out of the body. Pitta governs transformation, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and it governs body temperature, complexion, digestive enzymes, all things that convert matter into bodily tissues or discerns if it's waste. It also governs our thoughts, our perception, and transformation of information into knowledge, information, wisdom. So these sensations get transformed through our mind, through the nervous system, through the senses, and become information. And it's important to keep balance of your constitution so that that transformation and perception is optimal, it is clear. So kapha is the essence of nourishment. This governs all binding in the body, keeps the body together. It's all solid matter. The fat tissue, muscle tissue, bone tissue, all these things are made up of the building blocks that kapha is. So it governs the mucosal secretions of the digestive tract, the mucosal secretions of the lungs, the sinuses, the throat, the mouth, the lubrication of the joints, the synovial fluid, and the white matter of the brain. It governs memory. And if there's too much heaviness, the constitution's out of balance, there's too much dullness, cold, heavy, dense, slimy qualities in your diet, your lifestyle, then memories will get stuck in your mind and you'll have more depression and sadness and grief, and you won't be able to let go of things. There's a lot of attachment with kapha imbalance. And so this is just a root of anxiety for a lot of people, these haunting memories that just don't go away. So that's why it's important to know the doshas, because when you know the doshas, your constitution, you can understand what to change. Yeah.
Arvin, do you want to add something as long as the astrology goes with doshas?
Absolutely. I was actually fascinated when I heard Zach talk about the doshas because we have we have planets or grahas as they call in astrology or jyotish actually pointing out to the doshas. And if you look at the qualities of the planet, the way they are described in the Shastras, the way they are described even by science, they kind of map to what doshas, the three doshas that Zach was saying. For example, Vata. No, Zach was saying about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, right? Vata is the one which is responsible for movement, and also you see a lot of times people get the Vata imbalance during the cold seasons, right, Zach? When the cold seasons come, that's when the Vata imbalance is out in the system, and
Yeah.
things like arthritis and bone problems and dental problems come in. And if you look at the planets, if you look at the grahas, which one's really cold? It's Saturn. Saturn is the farthest away from the sun. At least of the 9 planets that we are interested in the Jyotish Shastra, there are other more planets, but we are interested until Saturn. It's the one which is responsible for the Vata, right? Because it's cold and it governs the Vata element in the body. And it's also going to be doing this, it's going to bring the Vata energy in different parts of field that Saturn governs, right? And along with Saturn, the other planet which is responsible for wind and which is really cold is Rahu. We all know the famous Rahu and Ketu. They come as in pairs, but Rahu is responsible for a lot of Vata and Vata diseases in the body, right? And Rahu is going to be bringing in a Vata energy, all the domains that Rahu kind of dominates, right? And the same thing with Pitta. What does Pitta dosha do? It's helpful for digestion, which means it needs a lot of heat. It's helpful for assimilation, again heat, and transforming things, which is again heat. So, what are the planets in a solar system that gives us heat? It's the sun. Sun is a major source of Pitta. It denotes the Pitta dosha, right? And the other planet, along with the sun, which is really red in color and looks fiery and angry all the time, is Mars, right? So Mars and Sun are responsible for Pitta. And just by looking at where these planets are placed in your natal chart, the Jyotish chart that we say, you can figure out at which area of life or which area in your body, in your physical body, even in your mental body, and what thoughts come up are going to be balanced or imbalanced by these doshas. Just by looking at how the grahas or planets are placed. Let's look at the last one, kapha. Kapha is that binding energy, like Zach was saying. You need memory. It wants to bring things together. It's that cuddly feeling that kapha people actually give you. You're going to have friends who are really like a little chubby and very cuddly. They are mostly kapha dominated, right, Zach? I can see you laughing. So I know, I
It's
think,
true. Yeah.
yeah. So Kapha planet, what is the one graha which actually binds a lot and which has got the power to actually bring people together? It's Jupiter. Jupiter denotes the Akasha element, the space element, and when the space element increases in anything or any place or any person, they're going to have that attractive force. So, Jupiter, along with the watery planets like Moon, Venus, they kind of denote the Kapha dosha. So, I'm really amazed of how the grahas and their characteristics kind of syncs up with the Ayurvedic dosha. This
Yeah,
just tells me that the Shastra is all like talking about the same thing in their own ways.
right. Thank you so much for explaining that. So, Zach, how can I understand my emotions in the Ayurveda perspective?
So when you understand your constitution, you then learn what emotion is predominant for me. So a Vata predominant person is going to have Vata type emotions, Pitta, Kapha, respectively. So what are Vata type emotions? Fear, anxiety, worry, overthinking, thinking too much, just bumper to bumper thoughts. And when you're out of balance, those thoughts, not only are they bumper to bumper, but they are also negative. They're negative worries, they're negative concerns about the future. Now, in a more proper balance, a Vata person might naturally think creatively and be overwhelmed with creative thought. And that's part of what gives them that dynamic nature is the wind element, the ether element. They can visualize things. There's a space in their mind that allows thoughts and visions to come to them.
Mm.
So having Vata type imbalance is going to be seen in your thoughts.
Mhm.
So Pitta type imbalance You're going to find somebody who is of the fire and water elements. They're aggressive, they're competitive, they're judgmental, they're critical, they say harsh and sharp words. They get to the point, but they do so in a searing way. You when somebody speaks in a very negative pitta way to you, you feel heat in the body, you're enraged. And they're enraged too because you're feeling that heat. When in balance, the pitta person is very driven, they're passionate, they get to the point, and they have an understanding of the whole picture, from A to Z. They're that typical type A personality that goes through everything 6 times in rehearsal before letting themselves see the light of day. So let's move to Kapha. Kapha dosha people, the qualities are earth and water of the dosha. Associated is depression, heaviness, sadness, being slow, not interested. Okay, I guess I'll get up and do that. I don't know. Do whatever. They're apathetic. That's in the negative sense. But in the positive sense, they're loving, they're compassionate. They remember everything about you and they remember every interaction, and they really touch your heart when they share that with you. And so there's a spectrum of balance and imbalance. And when physiologically we're in balance, we are mentally in balance.
Right.
Physically, when we're out of balance, there's expressions mentally, and vice versa. So if you have an argument with somebody, then you're going to feel more heat in the body. And if you go and do something cooling, like, drink coconut water, take a cool shower, let yourself dry off in the wind, like those are cooling things that will balance you at that time.
Okay. So what do you suggest in those things? What one should do if they're going through the negative side of the Vata, Pitta, Kapha?
So first line of defense and prevention is going to be meditation. It's going to be pranayama. It's going to be yoga. Those are things you can do for free, where you are, where you stand. And Art of Living so fantastically, it just gives us this whole package of Sudarshan Kriya, Shri Shri Yoga, all of these tools designed based on these principles that gives us balance. It gives us control. And so for a Vata person, they could do alternate nostril breathing, Anuloma Viloma. A Pitta person can do Shitali Pranayama, the cooling pranayama. You simply breathe through your tongue and exhale through the nose, pressing the cool tongue to the roof of the mouth. It's a very cooling practice you can do just in your chair right now. The Kapha person, they could do Kapalabhati breathing. They could do Bhastrika, that heavy, vigorous breath.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It clears out the lungs. It clears out that heaviness, the mucus, the stuckness, and gives you energy and vitality. That's the opposite of the Kapha's heavy, dense qualities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have actually, it's awesome that you brought the Art of Living Sudarshan Kriya, because Art of Living is actually offering the nationwide happiness course where we teach the profound and amazing breathing technique called sky breathing. So, those of you who are watching, and if you really want to participate and take that course, it's 3-day, starts on Friday, ends on Sunday, 2.5 hours each day. And it is online, so you don't really have to travel anywhere. And so please visit www.meditateus.org. So it's meditateus.org. The course is happening on June 26th to 28th. Yeah, thank you, Zach, for bringing that up. So Arvind, do you want to add to that?
Sure, absolutely. You were talking about how do you like have these emotions and what are these emotions, and Zach beautifully connected the emotions to the inherent dosha, which we call in English as personality. That's his personality. That's the personality, right? But it's all just an interplay of dosha. And I see the similar pattern with Jyotish too, right? There are these planets, and of course, there are stars and nakshatras, which we'll talk about later, but let's talk about the planets for now. These planets have an inherent characteristic. And when those particular planets in a person's chart is strong, is exalted, is really in a very strong place and in a happy place, that person is going to exhibit that planet's characteristic in that part of their life, right? So when you have a sun in a person's chart really strong or exalted at the 10th house, which is a house of career and work and karma and things like that, they're going to be really very successful in the career, and they're going to be a leader in their area of work, because that sun is the leader of the solar system and it provides light. So they are going to be the light for all the people in their work, right? And that's how they think. They always think in leadership: what can I do? How can I lead the team? So you need that planet sun to be strong for a particular thing. And that's the kind of emotions that they will also go through. They will have a big ego. We have always seen big leaders, big ego sometimes, and also a sense of responsibility and a sense of dharma. The sun raises up and sets all day long. The sun doesn't complain about it and doesn't take a PTO or a vacation like we do. The sun is always there. So that person is going to have those characteristic or a strong sense of duty bound, right? How about the moon? The moon always comes up in the night. It's this glowy white object up there, soft warmth feeling. You like watching the moon. Unlike the sun, you can watch it, and every time I remember the moon, I always remember about my mom, because she's the first one who taught me to look at the moon. And that is why that feeling of the moon, the characteristic of the moon of being giving you this mother tenderly love, is associated to your mom. So when you have a very strong moon in your chart and it doesn't have any malefic aspects, you're going
Yeah.
to have a very strong mom. You're going to have a very loving and a caring attitude for anything that you touch. So these grahas, the inherent characteristic of all the planets, the grahas, and based on their position in a chart, lends their attributes to us, and that's how we live, right? So when we look at a chart as a jyotishi, as an astrologer, when we look at chart, the first things that we really look for is to figure out the emotion and the personality of the person, because that is how we can actually talk to them. So like Zach was saying, if you want to go and talk to a pitta person, you better be right on time, you better be like dominating. You're not going to be tenderly and loving for them, they're just going to shoo you away. But if you want to go to a kapha person and you want them to do something, like, I love Zach when he transformed into a pitta person when he was talking about pitta, and he transformed into a vata or a kapha person when he was talking about a kapha, right? So when you want to go to a kapha person and make them more disciplined, you better be like a pitta person. Like, you have to be strict with them. You have to do the remedy. You have to do your Sudarshan Kriya. You have to do your pranayama every day. Do right? So as a Jyotishi, we actually look at a chart to figure out what is the current emotion because of the planets transit and move every day. Just like Zach would agree, the Prakriti or the personality changes for them based on seasons and time. So we look at what are they undergoing currently, and what is the right way to connect with them based on their personality, right? So the chart gives you those secrets.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I want to know what my chart shows. We have, I think somebody's asking questions about, can you speak more about the Vata Pitta and the coordination of yoga, dosha, Ayurveda, Jyotish? So if you want to talk a little bit about that, then I'll ask another question.
Could you repeat the question?
It says, can you speak more about the Vata Pitta coordination of yoga, dosha, Ayurveda, and Jyotish? I think they're two different questions, maybe combined as one. So basically talk about the Vata and Pitta again. Like if you can talk a little bit about the personality type. That's what they're asking, and how is it linked with the doshas and Ayurveda? So,
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So Vata type person. Let's talk about the qualities of a Vata type person. Well, Vata dosha. It's dry, light, rough, cold, mobile, subtle, clear. So, from a yoga perspective, the qualities that are going to balance Vata dosha, they're warm, they're heating. So, doing Surya Namaskar, sun salutations, that's a fantastic way to build up warmth and heat in the body. and that pacifies the cold quality of Vata. Vata starts becoming passive right away. The dry, the light qualities of Vata, really the light quality of Vata, you're gonna pacify it by doing strong muscular engagement in your poses, weightlifting, lunges, squats. In the body physically, one of the main sites of Vata are the thighs and the lower abdomen. So doing core exercises, leg lifts, holding plank and keeping a strong core, squeezing your legs, chair pose or Utkatasana, those are all going to balance Vata very quickly. For Pitta dosha person, they're hot, sharp, spreading, oily. There's there are all of these qualities together, and you need to be doing cooling things to balance. So cooling exercises. So if you're doing twists, they twist the internal organs, they pull the blood out of it, the blood carries heat in the body. So spinal twist on the ground, a twisting crescent lunge, they temporarily raise heat, but long term they'll reduce heat, they'll cause cooling. So these are ways, the heat's trapped in the joints, so forward folds, downward facing dog, those are ways to balance Pitta dosha. Kapha dosha, cold, dense, sticky, slimy, slow, dull. These are all the things that you need to bring energy, you need to bring vigorous movement, you need to make them active. So you could do sun salutations much more quickly. You can do pose to pose to pose, moving from thing to thing to thing. Kapha people need all kinds of exercise. You can't just stick to the same thing, the same routine. They'll get stuck, they'll get in their ways, they'll cut every corner they can.
Unchanging, yeah. I was about to ask you this question, and I think somebody's asking, can you talk about what kind of food each dosha should eat? If you want to talk about food qualities, anyone?
Yeah, sure. So food qualities. So I'll talk in general terms. We have limited time, but a Vata person, because of the dry, light, rough, natural qualities of the constitution, you want to choose oily, moist, well-cooked, soft, dense foods to create balance. So like a well-cooked soup or a stew, khichdi.
And that's for the Vata person, you said, right?
This is the Vata person, yeah. You want well-cooked, well-digested food, like pre-digested by the cooking process, to be easily digested and assimilated. Because Vata people tend to have a difficult time digesting proteins.
Oh, okay.
And so, avoiding excessive, black beans, kidney beans, zuki beans, those are really dry. Potatoes are dry.
Right.
Pitta people, you want to focus on cooling things. So avoiding the oily fried foods, avoiding excessive hot spices, chili, cayenne peppers, keeping those out of your diet, the pickles, keep them away, because Pitta person already naturally has a very strong digestion. They already can quickly digest the food, and you actually, to balance it, you want to slow it down a little bit. You want to give it a little bit more work to go through to then do that digestion, so that you're not too rapidly processing the food, pushing it through, causing loose stool, causing burning irritation, because you're overly heating the body. You're overly heating the digestion.
Basically, watch for spices. Don't eat too much spices for the Pitta person.
Exactly. And especially in summertime, which we're rapidly approaching, the end of spring into summer, this is Pitta season. We want to do fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, cooling things that, juices, coconut water, coconut itself. These things are going to give you balance at this time of year. So for any constitution, by the season, you want to favor these foods. Kapha person, they're heavy, dense, dull. You want to choose hot, light, sharp spices. So all the things that would put Pitta person out of balance. So, add a little extra spice to the stew, have trikatu, which is a mixture of ginger, black pepper, and long pepper. That can be a digestive stimulant. Kapha people can fast. They have the endurance and the constitution to endure fasting. So Kapha person can go 2 meals a day. They can wait a little longer in the morning, build up an appetite before they have their first meal. They can drink ginger, CCFT first thing in the morning to kindle that appetite and get their engine started so that they have the capacity to properly digest. Because when you improperly digest, when you don't eat, like when you overeat, you eat for the wrong dosha, then ama accumulates. And ama is a whole conversation of morbid metabolic waste. It's leftover food stuff, and it's a leading cause of disease in the body.
Okay. All right. Well, that's awesome to talk about all the doshas. If anyone has any questions, we can definitely take question and answers at the end. Let's talk about, like we have to talk about this, the COVID-19 situation. And this is for Arvind. What is the astrological analysis of the situation, and what can Jyotish say about the present situation? When do you think it's going to end?
Of course, we have to talk about COVID, right? Um, so, astrologically, uh, COVID-19 is a virus. We all figured that out, that COVID-19 is a virus. And virus is something that we can't see with our eyes. It's only visible under a microscope. So, among the grahas, among the 9 planets, what are the ones which we don't visibly see? It's Rahu and Ketu. All the other planets, they have physical bodies. The Rahu and Ketus are the one which it's just a mathematical point if you look at it logically, scientifically, but they act as planets. They have the energy of a planet in a different way. So Rahu and Ketu are these 2 grahas which actually are causing, I wouldn't say causing, they are the triggers which kind of had this coming, right? So if you look at it it is going to go into details, but just bear with me. It'll make sense at the end of this, right? So Rahu and Ketu, when they come to a particular position, they really get, in that exalted position, as we say, and in a particular nakshatra, in a particular point inside a house, they really trigger a lot of chaos. And that position is called the Mula Nakshatra, which is at the house of Sagittarius, at the beginning of Sagittarius, and right opposite, 180 degree from the Mula Nakshatra is another nakshatra called Arudra, or the energy of Rudra is there, the energy of transformation, bringing something down, destroying for something new to come up. A transformation energy is the highest at these 2, at the Arudra, and at the Mula Nakshatra is the energy of chaos. It's going to bring in calamity. And when Rahu and Ketu comes to these particular points in the sky, they're going to be causing a lot of things. They're going to be triggering a few things based on other planets being in there and in conjunctions. Conjunction has an Are there any other planets looking at them, or are they accompanied by a few other planets based on those type of planets and what they represent in people's lives? And if they represent mass people like countries, they're going to be causing downfall of a country or big calamity, right? Now, Rahu and Ketu kind of comes to these points every 18 years. They always keep transiting, and they come to these points every 18 years because that's the amount of time that they take to come back to a single point in your chart, right? So why is this particular time when Rahu and Ketu are there? Why is it such a huge thing? It's because there are 3 other planets along with Ketu in the house of Sagittarius. And those 3 are the big ones. There is Jupiter, there is Saturn, and there was also passing along with it was Sun when it started, right? Sun was always on it. So in December, I think it's 26th, 2019, that's when the WHO kind of said, okay, I think we have something, it's in the virus, and we are going to call it a pandemic. That happened in January. And I think it's December 26th is when China kind of declared saying, hey, we have a virus coming, right? At those time, we had a very powerful solar eclipse. Along with the solar eclipse was the planet Jupiter. The Jupiter is a planet who is responsible for jiva in Sanskrit, that we say, as aliveness, jiva, the life. Jupiter were also coming in. There was a solar eclipse. Saturn was already in place there, and Ketu was just going into that Mula Nakshatra point, right?
This started happening, you said, in December of last year, in 26th of
That
December.
was the time when it was officially announced. But if you look at when did it exactly happen, it's actually the trigger was then, but the actual happening was at maybe around October.
Oh,
October, more like October. We can go into details of whether it's man-made, natural. I don't want to go into sensitive
yeah,
talk.
yeah, sure, sure.
December 26th, Zach is laughing. I know why exactly he's laughing, but December 26th is when it burst out. And Jan first week is when WHO says, hey guys, hands up, everyone, it's a pandemic, right? But that solar eclipse was when it really happened. Now, what happened was Ketu is the one who kind of represents these virus or diseases. And when
Okay.
it gets to that Mula joint, what's going to happen is he's going to open a Pandora's box, because the goddess of that particular point of nakshatra is called Nirti, and she is called Alakshmi Nirti in the scriptures, and she is responsible for calamity. And her children, like in the stories that they say in the Shastras, are fear and disease. So she's going to open up that Pandora box. When Ketu goes over that nakshatra, that Pandora box was open, and Ketu has got this direct 180-degree access to Rahu, right? So Ketu passes on that virus over to Rahu, and Rahu's responsibility is to spread it.
Oh God.
You see how they work beautifully? So Ketu opens it up, creates it, triggers the event, sends it to Rahu, and Rahu just spreads it.
Yeah.
Rahu is the Vata planet, and he can spread that disease very fast,
Oh, wow.
right? And why is it such a big pandemic? Because Saturn and Jupiter and Sun were all around that house of Sagittarius. So the only planet which could have saved us, Jupiter, was caught up in the war, or in that group war with Ketu and Rahu. We looked at Jyotishis. We kind of knew something was happening, and because we look at patterns, Jyotish is all about patterns. When did the same combination happen? When what happened at that time across the world? So we look at patterns, and we see when was the last time Jupiter and Saturn were involved with Rahu and Ketu, and see look at what dates, what was happening across the world, and we found out, right, Jupiter and Saturn, instead of being with Ketu, the last time Jupiter and Saturn was caught up with Rahu, it was the year 1918, 1915, 16, 17, 18. And you see, if you look at your history, if you know your history, that's when the World War One happened, right? And right after the World War One, we had the Spanish flu.
Right. Mhm.
And it keeps repeating, and this time a lot of in the Jyotish circle, you would have seen a lot of YouTube videos. People were expecting war, people were expecting turmoil in every country, and there were heated conversations between US and other countries across Asia, and of course the blame on China, and a lot of things were happening over there. But it just turned out to be a pandemic, a disease, right? Now, this is a Jyotish analysis of why this is happening, but if you look at a philosophical analysis, Niruti, the goddess of the Mula joint, gets disturbed or opened whenever there is two things that happens in the world. It's not just the world or macrocosm, even inside of us. One is adharma, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you are doing something that you're not supposed to do,
Mhm.
right? And the other thing is ahimsa,
Oh, no.
violence. I mean, sorry, himsa. I mean, violence happens. When these two things are prevalent in the world, or prevalent in your house, or prevalent inside you in thoughts form, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have calamity. Now, philosophically, I'm just going to say that there was a lot of this happening. We saw this coming, and when this phenomenon happened, it was just a precursor to a lot of things changing. I'm going to tackle the second question that you asked. When is it going to end? Because that's what people want, right? That's
Yeah,
a big
definitely.
cause of anxiety.
Looking for miracles. So, it's just ends. So yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Um, Like I said, Rahu takes 18 years to go around. Rahu and Ketu deal with the number 18 a lot, right? It takes Rahu 18 months to get out of that position to a favorable position. So I'm going to say it back to complete normal, like how we used to be back in December and before that, is going to have 18 months from the last December. So we're going to have a lot of advancements, like you're going to have vaccines come, you're going to have people say that the COVID cases are always in check now, people health are improving, we understand COVID more now, we can kind of stop it. Ayurvedically, we already have like Art of Living is doing a lot of research on how to stop this, come up with immunity booster kits and stuff like that. So we will have steady development in medicine, in research, in understanding the pandemic. But it has already implanted fear in the minds of people and hence anxiety, right? For the fear of people to subside and people to come back to their normal behavior is going to take until at least March, April, May next year.
Oh yeah, because people do have a lot of fear, anxiety, and I think like you guys were talking about the sky breathing. That can really help with the anxiety.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things, I was discussing it with my other Jyotishi friends, right? And I was telling them what could be a remedy that they can do, as in what can they do, as in like yoga or breathing. And we all agreed that a beautiful remedy for your Saturn and your Rahu, remember Saturn and Rahu are your Vata planets,
Yes.
is the Sudarshan Kriya. The
Right.
Sudarshan Kriya is an amazing technique to actually balance out your doshas, all your three doshas, especially since you're using your breath as a tool. It can help you balance out your Saturn and your Rahu problems.
I totally agree. I've been doing Kriya for almost 11 years now myself, and I see a lot of changes. And again, for those who are watching us, I just want to real quick remind you guys that we have a nationwide, happiness course where we teach this profound technique called Sudarshan Kriya that Zach and Arvind were mentioning about how it can balance your doshas and, help you with anxiety and fear. So, please visit www.meditateus.org. We're having this nationwide course on June 26th to 28th. And the best part is over 1,000 people are already coming for the course. So if you have not registered, please right now go and, book your spot, June 26th to 28th. All right, so let's talk about, there's another question about. The question is, what is the effect of lunar eclipse coming up in July? So, Arvind, if you want to talk about that.
That's a good question. I have to talk about two eclipses since you brought up the eclipse, because there's one happening in June 20th in the US, June 21st in the Asia part of world in India, and it is going to be a very significant event
Oh,
because we are going to because eclipses happen every 6 months, 6 to 7 months, and having two powerful solar eclipses happen in a span of 6 months, and sandwiched in between it you have another lunar eclipse, so three eclipses in a span of 6 months is a very big event that's happening out there in the sky, right? And remember, it's actually the annular solar eclipse in December 26th which kind of triggered the event. So, and that's what gave power for the spread that Rahu needed. Because when you have an eclipse, the Rahu and Ketu's energies are expanded exponentially, right? So we have another solar eclipse happening in June 20th in the US. Thank God, US is not affected a lot. It's more of Japan, India, Taiwan, and Pakistan and cities over there and countries over there. But the one after that, we have another lunar eclipse happening in July 5th on the day of Guru Purnima, the day of the Guru, a full moon. Um, and that is going to affect the US a lot more. So whenever eclipses happen, you're going to have like I said, the energy of Rahu and Ketu being dominant at the country level, at the state level, at a community level. and even your physical body level inside your family, right? So, given that we are already in the middle of a pandemic and we are trying to come out of it, these eclipses play a major role. In a positive sense, Rahu, which is a planet which represents research, probably is going to give all the researchers some good news saying they found a vaccine or they are on a virtual breakthrough. Something about the virus that they didn't know before is going to probably they're going to have access to it, right? But on the negative sense, on what things can happen, is probably the numbers increase drastically, which we already see. People are calling it a second wave. We can't pinpoint what exactly is going to happen because we don't know how the planets are going to play at that moment of time. But the best thing we can all do is protect ourselves, right? Like when it's raining, you have the option of wearing a raincoat or take an umbrella. So I would urge people to start your pranayama. Like Zach said, pranayama is the best way to handle the planet's energy in our life and in our mind. If you know the Sudarshan Kriya, please do it. If you know some pranayamas, start doing it. And if you know any chanting, mantras, the sound, the science of sound has got a huge say on us. So if you know any mantras, especially mantras like the Hanuman Chalisa, those these mantras have a very special effect on Saturn and Rahu, effect on us, the energies. I would urge them to start chanting those or at least listening to them. And of course, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar has always said the best remedy for anything off your planets or anything that's happening in your life is Om Namah Shivaya. So please chant the Om Namah Shivaya on those days, especially during the eclipses.
Also, they can listen to Rudram, right? Rudram, I heard, is also very powerful.
If you have access to Rudram, it's on YouTube. If you have the Sattva app, you have the Rudram over there, and it's also available on the website as well as YouTube. Please listen to the Rudram on that day. It will enhance your protective coverage. Yes.
Yeah, I really love that. I try to listen and chant on Mondays. So it's a lot of vibrations in your body when you listen to that powerful chant.
Very powerful chant, and the energy of the Rudra is exactly what's needed because remember, Rahu is in the land of Rudra currently, right? So we need the Rudra energy to calm him down.
And also, like you talk about, again, the Sudarshan Kriya, pranayams, that really helps. And when we learn the Sudarshan Kriya, it is definitely a special breathing technique, but it starts with a pranayam. So you're actually, people who have not done the Kriya, it starts with pranayam. So we, in Art of Living, you learn the pranayams, you learn the prastrika that Zach was showing before, one of the techniques, and then you learn the Kriya. It's like a 20 to 30 minutes practice every day, which leaves you really energetic, fresh, and it's one of the best things. So again, please check out meditateus.org. The course is on 26th to 28th. If you have any questions, please ask us. We'll be happy to answer. So we have another question. The question is, will doshas for a person remain the same all the time?
That's a great question. So it does depend on what specifically you're talking about. Short answer, no. They're constantly fluctuating. They're always on the move. Vata moves out of balance the quickest, but thankfully, it's also brought back into balance the quickest. Pitta dosha moves second quickest. Kapha dosha, it's the slowest in general, slowest to go out of balance, slowest to come back into balance. If you gain 40 pounds, it's going to take some time and some effort to go through proper healthy rate of weight loss. So you have a baseline constitution. As a practitioner, I can read the pulse and assess what your baseline constitution is, your prakriti, what your genetic composition is. That's your ideal state. So when you take a dosha quiz, like you'll find online, Ayurveda.com is a great place. They have tons of information. That's my school. So you'll have a baseline constitution, what your ideal state is. That's what you want to aim towards being like. Then there's Vikriti, your present imbalanced state of constitution. And that's what we're aiming to control with proper diet, lifestyle, daily routine. That includes doing meditation, pranayama, proper hygiene, and exercise that's appropriate to our constitution and the season.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope we answered your question, Zach. Thank you so much. So, are the planets connected to the three doshas, Arvind?
Exactly, they are. We talked about that a little bit when Zach was talking about the doshas. Like I said, the planet characteristics and the dosha characteristics are very similar. Like, you know, like I said, Saturn, Rahu are connected to your Vata dosha. The Rahu and Saturn, they are the ones who kind of control the movement element. Rahu is a very fast moving and thinking, thoughts and emotions come up so drastically, whereas the Saturn is actually slow one, because in the Shastras he say he's got a limb, so he goes slowly and he wants to go fast, so they control movement a lot. The other planet that's also Vata kind of is Mercury. Mercury is one of the fastest moving planet in our solar system, right? So he also kind of denotes your Vata element. Pitta, like we talked about, Mars and Sun, and Ketu. Ketu is also denotes your Pitta element. And Jupiter, and the watery planets, Moon and Venus, they kind of have a say over the Kapha elements. Now, when you see these planets in a particular house, depending on whether they are a benefic or a malefic on the chart, and based on the transits that are happening right now, you can see that doshas change. I'm trying to answer a Jyotish angle to the previous question that Zach answered. How do you know what is your Vikruti, as they call it, right? Your Prakriti is the constitution that you're born with, and the Vikruti is the one which keeps changing and going on. You can kind of predict that based on the transits that are happening and looking at your chart. When Jupiter goes to a particular house, like your first, fourth, seventh, or 10th house, especially the first house, you will see that you're more kapha or dominant at that time. You like knowledge more. You're going to be listening to talks in YouTube, rather than watching movies. You like these inspirational talks from Gurudev, Shri Shri, or you're researching about Ayurveda or astrology, because the planet Jupiter is influencing you by giving you more dharmic, kapha oriented talks, right? In terms of the body, when the sun is there in the first house, let's say sun is in your first house, he's going to increase your heat in the body, right? When heat, where do you see the pitta usually? It's usually in the top half of the body over here, right? So when you see people have sun in the first house and the transit is going on, they're going to be losing a lot of hair, right? Especially women, you see, oh, when they comb and see a lot of hair, they're like, why? Maybe the pitta element, the pitta planets are there ruling your first house, the head part of the region. So you're going to lose a lot of hair. Not just hair, you're heated up, you get into arguments, your head is not cool, and you spill out angry words. So these grahas have a very uh, immediate say on your personality, and the bridge on how they actually affect you is through your doshas.
Oh, okay.
So how is sun going to affect how is sun heating you up? It is through the pitta dosha in you. The sun is going to ignite the pitta dosha, and then the heat rises up, and then you say, oh, the sun is there in transit is not good, that's why I have this problem. So the bridge between the grahas and your personality is your dosha.
Yeah.
What are the remedies? What a person should do? That's the a problem. How do we fix that? When you know that you have that problem of losing hair and getting hot.
Big problem, losing hair, thinning out of hair when the pitta is high, right?
Yeah.
Any Ayurveda aspect of it, Zach? Like you want to talk about, any Ayurveda?
Yeah. So two things come to mind. One, it's really important to know your chart or get a reading and understand what houses these planets sit in, because each house represents different parts of the body. So studying Ayurveda, we learned medical Jyotish and gained an understanding of, where Rahu sits, what kind of disorders and diseases are going to happen for a person. And same with Pitta. So we're talking about the sun specifically and Pitta type imbalance. Well, if I have sun in the ascendant, the first house, then I am going to have hair loss and Pitta type things going on. So one tactic is to use Bhringraj oil, which is a special herbalized oil that you can simply place on the scalp before you go to sleep. You can put it on the soles of the feet. It helps calm the nervous system down. It cools the head, because Ayurvedically, the oily qualities and hot qualities together of Pitta, they encourage hair loss. They make the actual follicles more saturated with oil, and the hair simply slips out. And as you brush it, it comes out much more easily when there's too much heat going on.
Where can I buy that?
You can buy it. I believe the Sri Sri Tattva has a brand of Bringraj oil. There's Banyan Botanicals, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll be able to find
Google
it very easily.
Yeah, right? Everything is Google. Google has answers for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what if, like, general question, you know, a two Pitta person, now they fall in love, they get married, and now, you know, how do they in day-to-day life, you know, manage the Pitta qualities in each other? Like, what is best way to you know, have their relationship, like benefits of having to have the same dosha? I don't know how to put it in words, but you know, like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I hear your question. So one awesome Ayurvedic principle to understand is like increases like. Opposite does the opposite, dissimilar. It balances. So two Pitta predominant people coming together, they're going to be very passionate. They're going to be very aggressive or prestigious and seeking fame and glory and luxury. So they'll have a lot of things in common. They'll respect each other, because you know, Pitta type people, they don't stick around if they think you're not smart. Like, they'll leave the classroom if the professor, or they'll get their teacher changed if they think the professor's an idiot. So the two Pitta people together, they can use this information as awareness that it's very easy for them to get out of balance in this way, and understand what kind of methods to employ. Maybe they need to have distance and cool off from time to time and give each other space. That allows love to occur. You need space for love to occur for people.
Right. Yes.
So
yes.
Maybe they choose a very kapha type counselor and talk about things in an objective way, as opposed to allowing themselves to get into arguments frequently, to criticize each other, to, you know, keep criticism and, you know, constructive speech out of the bedroom, so that, you know, it doesn't disturb your sleep. Because if there's too much heat, Pitta people, if Pitta's out of balance, they will lack sleep. It'll be harder for them to get to sleep and stay asleep.
Yeah, that's true. You know, the reason why I asked, I got a call from one of my friends, and it seems like her and her husband both have like the Pitta quality based on what I heard. And I'm like, let me find out from you so I can relay that to her. You know,
Yeah,
find a kapha, you know, counselor maybe, or learn Sudarshan Kriya. You know.
That too.
Let me give a Jyotish viewpoint on it, right?
Yeah.
You know, Rishi has always said, if you want anything to stick together or come in harmony, you need the Akasha element to be increased. Akasha is the space element, and Jupiter, which is a Kapha planet, like Zach was saying, you have to have a Kapha counselor. You have to increase your Jupiterian energy in and around you for two Pitta people to be together for a longer time. So that's where, you know, Jupiter is spirituality, pranayama again. Sudarshan Kriya and balances those out. And doing more dharmic things like charity, or, you know, working on a project, or doing selfless service, those things increases the Jupiter in the charts, which means they're going to be binded together. For example, you know, people do puja, you know, the act of offering, puja, as in puja, what when you offer a flower to the deity or whatever you believe in, is nothing but increasing your Jupiterian energy, your binding force. So you know, when you said the two Pitta people, husband and wife, I just related to a lot of my friends. I think Puja, you understand how two Pitta people can
Oh
fight.
yeah, I've been hearing. When I heard over the phone, she's like going on and on about her husband. I'm like, okay, this is one of the questions I'm going to ask you guys.
You have to increase your Jupiterian energy or a Venus activity like swimming. Swimming together. Go walk around the lake, because the lake represents the moon and Venus. The watery element will calm down their energy, right? So things like that. When you know your chart, like Zach said, when you get your chart read and you know exactly where the planets are placed, and you know, and this is what we do in marriage matching. Okay,
Right.
here's
Yeah.
a Pitta person, and this person is more personality wise, this is how he is, and here is a different Pitta person who's more this way. The astrologer is kind of matching them and saying, okay, what are the different problems they might face? So, what remedies can I prescribe them? That's the role of a astrologer when they do marriage matching, right? So, when you have two Pitta people, try to increase the watery element around them or the Jupiterian energy.
I'll bring the kapha counselor.
Kapha counselor always works.
Learn Sudarshan Kriya again. Like it's one of the best.
I can't talk about it enough because the one technique which I know and I practice, I know Zach practices, I know Pooja, you do it every day and you teach that, is the Sudarshan Kriya because it balances all the three doshas.
Yeah.
Not just one dosha, all the three doshas get in balance, in harmony when you do the Sudarshan Kriya.
Right. And we are having the course again, people who just joined, we're having a nationwide happiness course. It's going to be happening on June 26th to 28th. And more than 1,000 people have already registered and they're coming on the course. So please, book your spot and go visit meditateus.org. That's where you can find all the courses from different states. If you have any questions, please ask us. We'll be happy to answer. So we also have another question, and we're running out of time. So maybe we'll take the last question. It says, does Saturn leads one towards spirituality?
Beautiful question. I was expecting this actually.
And there you go.
Sade Sati, right? Everyone knows Saturn's transit, 7.5 years. Saturn is one of the most misunderstood planet out there. Look, it is said in the Shastras, Lord Narayana or Vishnu has taken forms of these 10 planets to give people what they deserve. Some of the planets give them in a very beautiful way, and we call them benefics. Some actually teach you a hard lesson because that is what your karma actually wants at that time, and we call them malefic. Saturn is this one planet who is responsible for actually bringing out all of your karmas for that you chose for this particular lifetime, right? So, I know a lot of people like blaming Saturn for it, but that is exactly what we chose for when we took this life, right? Saturn is a beautiful planet in that he takes his own time to actually come, give you all the learnings, teach you in a hard way, and then give you the fruits and leave. If you want to tackle Saturn problems,
Right.
you have to work hard. That is exactly what Saturn's characteristics is. If you put in the hard work, you are going to be satisfying the Saturnian energy and you won't have problems. Now, why does Saturn have to teach you hard? I know it. They say when Saturn comes, he takes away everything from you and throws off, and you become a pauper. There's a lot of myths about Saturn. It is because to teach you to slow down and turn towards spirituality so that you are on a path to find your own self. Don't run behind money. Don't run behind other possessions. You are here for a different reason. And Saturn is that one planet which teaches you that through its own hard way, but we blame him for it, right? So the 7.5 years of Saturn, when Saturn transits the 12th house,
Right.
the first house and the second house of where your moon is placed, your natal moon, is what we call the Saturn transit. And that is when he gives you the maximum lessons. He's going to teach you through bodily, through some diseases or some pain, body pain. He's going to teach you through relationships. That's where a lot of things happen in your relationships. Separation. Saturn is known for separating things. And he's also going to teach you in terms of money and your career. He's going to pull it away, saying, slow down. You're going behind the wrong thing. You actually are meant for something bigger than this. And when you put in the hard work and you deal with all these different things, you're going to see Saturn is one of the most beneficial for spirituality. And there are a lot of great people who come to leadership positions, like Trump became the president during his Saturn period.
Wow.
Narendra Modi became the prime minister in India when his Saturn period was running. A lot of people get married when Saturn period comes in their life because that is the way they can finish off their karma for the world, for the people, for community, for themselves. Right? So, absolutely, Saturn teaches you how to actually delve into spirituality in his own beautiful ways.
Wow. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. So, it's actually, we were planning to do this 40 minutes, but it's like 1 hour. It's like such interesting conversation with you guys. Amazing. I'm sure guys who are watching enjoyed our show. And there are actually more than 300 people watching us right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I want to thank Zach and Arvind for their time. And it's such a pleasure and honor to have you both with us today. And that's Nitesh is our tech person who's been handling all the Facebook Live and everything. Thank you so much, Nitesh, for your help. And we'll see you guys soon. We'll, if you have any questions, feel free to write to us. But, again, we're having a nationwide happiness course on June 26th to 28th. More than 1,000 people are coming on the course. So please don't wait. Just, go to meditateus.org and just sign up. It's 3 days, just 2.5 hours each day. You're going to be sitting in your bedroom, living room, kitchen, anywhere. And you can just learn the beautiful, profound technique called Sudarshan Kriya. So don't wait. Just sign up. Hope to see you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.